Well, hey everyone, this is Michael, and welcome to the LoveWorks Dreamers and Doers podcast. We are bringing you today episode number 97, and it's a LoveWorks. So we believe that you are never too young to be a dreamer, and you are definitely never too old to get started working on that dream. Hey, if you are tuning in or watching for the first time, we just want to thank you. You are giving us a thing that is the most precious to you, whether you realize it or not, and that is your time. And if you are returning, there absolutely be something you must love about our personal growth segment, our Dreamer and Doer guests, or of course, Carolyn's hair. So welcome back.
Thank you, Michael. Well, our hope with the Dreamers and Doers podcast is that each week our special guest is going to connect with you wherever you find yourself today, and they're going to inspire you to become the best version of yourself for tomorrow.
There is no doubt. And Carolyn, just so you know, it's more than the hair. It is your vibrant personality, your joy, just your loving kindness. I mean, you bring the whole game.
Thank you. We'll log on to the YouTube if you guys want to check out the hair, I guess. But you can also check out Michael's hair. You know what? I will say that if anyone goes onto the YouTube, someone comment and compliment Michael's hair, because I know he would love that.
Well, thank you for bringing that comment and that love on this special day. At the time of this recording, it is Valentine's Day, so I'm feeling it. Well, hey, at LoveWorks, we absolutely believe in a few things. We believe in you. We know and believe that our guest interview today is going to be awesome. But we also are big believers in personal growth. And so we hope that what we're going to suggest in just a couple of minutes, and of course, our interview and conversation is going to meet you wherever you find yourself on your leadership journey, because whether you realize it or not, you are on a leadership journey. And so each week we like to do a little bit of the heavy lifting for you, and we love to curate things. And so we may talk about music, we'll make other podcast recommendations, we'll talk about organizations out there that are doing positive things in the world, we'll even talk about blogs or vlogs, magazines. But today we are going to highlight a couple of influencers that we would definitely suggest checking out that are making an impact in the world. And so, Carolyn, I'm excited to hear about your influencer.
Yeah, so the influencer we're going to talk about is a teen, and her story starts when she is actually 7 years old. And so at age 7, she would actually tag along when her parents would go and volunteer at homeless shelters. And so as Tanvi was growing up, this was kind of part of her experience and learning and talking and having these conversations. Well, she soon found out that there were kids that were living in the homeless shelter who didn't get birthday parties. And so kind of the ones that she was experiencing where they were themed, you have your own special cake and all of that. And so Tanvi, when she was very young, at 12 years old, she started to throw these birthday parties and collaborating with different people in the community, getting cakes donated. But it's really special because every birthday party is really, really special and unique, where she surveys each of the children beforehand or the parents beforehand, so that she can make this like a truly special, personalized, like this is a birthday party for you. And so connecting with people from face painters to balloon artists, just to throw these kids some beautiful birthdays. And so she is now 19 years old. This is something that she's still doing. She started an organization called No Birthday Left Behind. And she is now, it's kind of a funny way that she puts it. So she celebrated 523 birthdays now so far with the organization. And so she said it's kind of this joke where it's like, if these were her own birthday parties, she would be like 523 years old now. But she's a 19-year-old student. It's really amazing to see the work that she has started to do in responding to kind of a challenge that she saw at a really young age, to even now that she's still continuing this and she's involving other people as well. And so, yeah, Tanvi Barman, check her out in her story and check out No Birthday Left Behind.
Love it. Love it. Go, Tanvi. You are absolutely never too young to make a difference in this world. I love it. Hey, Dreamers and Doers, I've got one for you, and this is a name you definitely need to know. His name is Orion Jean, and he was nominated and named Time Magazine Kid of the Year. And his leadership journey started at the age of 10, when his teacher sent him an email, and it was an encouragement for him to apply for a speech contest. It was a national speech contest, but here's the catch. He had less than 12 hours to prepare to submit his speech, and he ended up winning. And so he invested the money that he won. So there was a little bit of prize money to be able to start what he calls founder of Race to Kindness. So he's the founder of Race to Kindness, which is our series of race events to make a positive impact in the world. Carolyn, check this out. So his first Race to Kindness was to collect over 500 toys to give them to children in need at a children's hospital. His second Race to Kindness was to raise over 100,000 meal kits to give to people in need across the state of Texas. He reached his goal. His third Race to Kindness was to collect over 500,000 books to give them to kids in need or in places and locations that they would call book deserts. And so he met that goal. And at the age of 11 years old, he authored his first book. It's the Kids series that we featured here on the podcast. And it's all about a kid's book to leadership. And he says that anyone can be a leader. And so whoever's listening to this right now, you might not realize it or not, but you are a leader and you can make a difference in this world. So, hey, those are a couple influencers that we would just encourage you to check out that we hope inspire you on your leadership journey. Well, if there's someone that we know that's going to inspire you on your leadership journey, it's the conversation that we're about to have. But first, here's our format. Each week, we have the fortunate opportunity to talk with someone that we've identified as a dreamer and a doer. And we're definitely going to at least hear about one of their dream stories, but we're not going to stop there. We're going to take a few minutes and we're going to probe and we're going to dig in and talk about what did the early beginning look like, that first or second or third step that they took. And along the way, we're going to hear about some obstacles and challenges. And we hope that encourages you to get from the place you are today to the place your heart desires to get to tomorrow. So let's meet our dreamer and doer guest. His name is Derrick Sier.
Born in North Tulsa, Oklahoma, Derrick was raised by parents who simply wanted to love people. Whether those people were family or random neighborhood kids who needed clean clothes and a hot meal, giving love was their primary focus. In fact, Derrick's first memory as a child was of himself stumbling through a house packed full of people who were laughing, eating, drinking, and enjoying each other's company. Every significant memory that follows has the same feel, loving on people. Today, loving people has remained the core of everything Derrick does, from his bachelor's degree in recreation management to his master's degree in theology to his company, OMOS Team Building, which means one mind, one spirit. Derrick sincerely believes and has spent his life proving growing together is better. In 2021, Derrick joined the leadership team at Paradigm Shift, an organization that provides the tools and services geared specifically towards empowering students to be the leaders of tomorrow and helping educators make the most of their time and their students both inside and outside the classroom. Hi, Derrick.
What's up?
Good to see you.
Awesome.
You're
bringing the energy already, Derrick.
I was thinking as Carolyn was reading the bio, how much I love it, right? I think sometimes we hear bios and it's like, and it's not to diminish what anybody else does, right? I want to make sure that people get their roses, their flowers, their accolades. But I remember like sitting in the audience as a kid, listening to all these people who did really great things. And I really wanted to know how human they were. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I created this bio, I went from like listing all the things that I did to like just loving people, connecting with folks, talking about my family. That's a really good bio if I say so myself.
No, I was thinking that seriously in the pre-production time as I'm reading through bios and things like that. Like this one does stand out to be, it's written a little differently, and it's one of those like, hey, this is like I'm just really telling the story about a person versus like I'm doing a list of things here. Yeah. No, I agree. I love it.
Awesome.
Well, Derrick,
thanks for having me here today. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, man, we are absolutely thrilled. And we know that you've done a lot of things, and we're going to talk about some of those things that you're currently doing now, but kind of just still hanging out just in this idea of personal growth. You heard us on the onset. We were talking about a couple of influencers that, we think our dreamers and doers should get to know. But I learned something about you, about something that you did last year. And if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to catch you by surprise here. But when we started the year 2022, we talked about, when we're big believers, Carol and I, of this idea of selecting a word of the year. And I heard last year your word of the year was jump.
Jump was my word of the year. And I love the word so much that I got a dozen shirts made and I tried to wear them every single day. I did. Just across my chest. It was a black shirt, big white words, JUMP. And I wanted to wear it on my chest, almost like a superhero sign, right? So that I could just kind of remember when I walked in a door with glass, it would reflect. Or when I stood in the mirror, I would see it. Or whenever I took a picture, it would be on the picture. Or when there were people that would see me when I was walking out, and they would literally jump. They would physically jump when they saw my shirt. And so not only was it a reminder to me, but when other people responded, it almost doubled down on that reminder to be not only courageous, but kind of curious and experimental, and to get out of one place into the next. A jump was my word, and I actually did a lot of jumping last year into some really cool opportunities. One of the things being jumping out of a plane. I went skydiving based on my word of the year. So it was a really good word.
You are taking this to a whole nother level. You got the apparel, you got the line of clothes, jumping out of planes. I'm sure you probably did jumping jacks and who knows what else that you did. That is cool. Do you have a word? Do you have a word for 2022?
Yes, my word for this year is explore. And that is something that I think jumping last year allowed me to get into some situations and some scenarios and some opportunities. And I think I'm a list guy. And when you get into just kind of this list mode, you begin doing things and checking them off just to say you did them. And I found myself midway through the year not really taking the opportunity to embrace and to sit into those opportunities. I was simply checking off a list to say I did the things. Well, this year, I want to sit a little bit more in some of those opportunities and look around and explore and figure out how they impact me. What do I have to give to those situations? And make sure that I milk the moment for what it is.
That's really cool. So are you going to like dress up in like a safari guide, like out for the rest of the years?
No, I will not. No, there are no outfit themes that match this word this year.
Well, no, I love that idea. And just the fact that it was, it was for you, but it was also even for other people. I love that it was almost like an instruction, like for other people, go jump. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, Derrick, jumping into our interview now, I get to ask this question and kick us off because we are on the Dreamers and Doers podcast. And so we know you are a dreamer and a doer, but we're curious, which one do you consider like comes more naturally to you, the dreaming or the doing?
I got to set this up. Because in order to do, right, there has to be a prompt, which means I dream, but I probably do more than I dream. Like I only need a little bit to get the movement going. I just need a crack in the window. Like I don't need necessarily the whole story. I don't need the whole bit. I just need a little bit that gets me going. So I'm definitely a doer.
Okay. Not too surprised by you saying that, Derrick. Just getting to know you.
Definitely a doer.
We're excited for you to take us back just a few years and perhaps maybe even tell us a story or two about some of those things that you did. I do love your bio, and I love how you described one of your first memories and how you described that. So do you mind taking us back and tell us just a little bit more, give us a little bit more detail and picture about what life was like growing up for you?
Definitely. Keeping with the dreaming and doing theme, I think that growing up, I was afforded the opportunity to dream a little bit more than maybe the people around me. I know that North Tulsa comes with a stigma of kind of survival and very underserved, underprivileged. But I think in those scenarios, when you don't have a lot of stuff to distract you, that your imagination can spark. And you think about, puppies or babies, and you buy them all these toys and you give them all these things, and they end up playing with the box or the bubble wrap. It's like you get them all these elaborate things. You get this cat, these toys and the ball and the fluffy stuff, and they end up playing in the brown paper sack. Right. So I think me younger, not having all the bells and whistles, it allowed my imagination to kind of take over. And so I remember being the story my mom tells me, being 2 or 3 years old, playing in one area with Legos all day. And when I was done playing with the Legos, I would just fall asleep where I was. Or being 5 or 6 and being able to ride my bike up and down the street. And I created this world where it was just me and my bike and my friends, and we didn't really need any other prompts because that was enough for us, right? Or I remember being 8, 9, 10 in elementary school, and we had these little territory groups, and like ours would be the jungle gym, and the other groups would be like the slide. And in order to come play over here, you had to give us like your juice box from lunch. We didn't really need a lot of things in order to get going. And so when I think back on my childhood, it wasn't a lot of stuff. It wasn't a lot of bells, a lot of whistles. We didn't have a lot of money per se, but what we did have was a lot of connection, a lot of imagination, a lot of freedom to explore, a lot of love. Our family was intact. Not to say that we didn't have our problems, but it allowed us to be in a place to where we were together a lot. And in that togetherness, our creativity and our dreaming potential manifested, and it was exponified. And so I think when I think about dreaming, I always go back to movies and singing and dancing and playing and connecting and creating, which kind of led to my entrepreneurial spirit as an adult.
That is that leads us perfectly into this next section. And I feel like entrepreneur is how I would describe you. You're an author, you are a speaker, you multiple organizations that you're involved in now. I know you kind of just shared a little bit, but were there any kind of life events or maybe people in your youth that you met along the way that really inspired you to do what you do today?
Yes, I had coaches that I ended up playing 5 sports in high school. I played 5 sports in elementary school. I kind of refined a little bit in middle school, but every significant step along the way, elementary, middle, high school, I had a coach. There was always one coach who kind of stripped my my understanding of what my body could do based on my size and my capability. And when I think about the encouragement that came from those individuals, it was absolutely amazing, right? I thought because I was short, I couldn't play basketball, but I learned the pump fake, right? And when you're short, all the taller people just block your shot, right? And so right before I got to shoot, I pump fake, and then the tall people would fly over me, and I had a jump shot that was killer, like that was killer. In wrestling, just because I was a little chunkier and a little slower, I had to learn more technique. Or when I was in high school and I was learning something new, that like there was always that coach that was able to kind of reframe or shift my thinking about a traditional position and allow me to participate with my body and my size and my skill set, right? So I think of that type of person. I think about my my choir teacher, who would always encourage me to sing, and I would defer to other people because I thought they could sing better. Actually, that's something that I still do today. I'm like, I don't sing, that person sing. Like anybody that's a singer, it's like everybody knows someone who can sing better. But I remember being in elementary school, and Mr. Wiley would always put me up front to sing. And he would encourage me and push me in middle school. I always would have that choir teacher that would push me forward in high school, push me forward. I can think of the guy next door that would recycle cans. And I was always talk about, not having money to do the things I wanted to do. And he was like, there's literally money on the ground. And I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, look at all these cans. And so I remember being 8, 9, 10, walking around the neighborhood, like picking up cans, recycling, getting money. And when I was younger, we had a quarter store, right? And so you go down to the corner, and with $1, you could change a kid's life, right? With chips and sodas and snacks. And so when I think back and I think of all these people, I can think of teachers, coaches, I can think of family members that really spoke into my life and allowed me to expand my expectations beyond what I thought my circumstances were.
Derrick, I'd love to park here for a moment if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of curious about a couple things. One, what was it, do you think, that made the difference for you of just being just so open and receptive to the coaching, to the encouragement, or to the counsel of so many people that were around you at that time? That's not necessarily something that I see, as a common trait in students today.
Yeah, I would say probably two things. Most importantly, number one is time, right? I think when you spend a lot of time around people, then you build rapport, you become familiar with them, which leads to the second thing, which I think is trust. And I'm a mentor, and I know that I have children, I have teenagers, I have college students who may not understand or know specifically, but because they spent time with me and because they trust me, they're open and available to try some things they probably normally would not have. And so for me, I find myself hanging out outside of practice, just time, just repetitions, just being available, just hanging out with adults. And that time developed into trust, and that trust opened the door to be receptive to some of the things they had to say.
Okay, that's good. Well, you painted a picture for us about Derrick, the Lego playing, bike riding, 5-sport athlete, getting ready to play alongside Spud Webb. But into say high school or so, what were you thinking about this time? You're playing multi-sports, so you but also to your entrepreneurial. So were you thinking potentially that the avenue trajectory may be sport specific, or what are you thinking? Where's it all heading?
Yeah, so I knew in high school that, and I had an opportunity to play college sports, to play sports in college, play football in Iowa. But I knew in high school that sports wouldn't be my thing. I also knew that that I wouldn't hold a traditional job. If I did, it wouldn't be my only thing. I worked at a sub shop called Blimpies in high school.
Yeah.
And me and my friends, we all worked there, and we were always trying to figure out a way to do things differently. We would create new sandwiches, and some of the regular customers would come in and they would say, hey, you remember that thing you made for me last time? And I was like, I know exactly what it is. And it was off the menu, right? And the owner hated it, right? Because he was like, you can't keep coming in here asking for the Derrick special, asking for, and there is no Derrick special. Right? We got meatballs, we got Italian subs, we got pastrami. There is no Derrick special, right? And so I just remember it kind of being in these settings where this traditional path towards employment or joy or happiness, it just seemed stale. Like there was something more. So it wasn't, I don't know that I had the language in high school to say that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? But I knew that the traditional path that people were pushing me down didn't feel right. It didn't fit me well, right? It didn't hug my personality or steer me in a direction that I found myself being happy and fulfilled. And so I can say in high school, I was very much so still a blank canvas. I loved music. I loved the arts. I was in a boy band called Mystical Melodies, and we would like hang out in the cafeteria, and we'd be like snapping and like oohing and singing songs. It's like I was just so open to a lot of different things that people around me were not. And so I don't know that I knew exactly what I was going to do in high school, but what I did know is that the traditional path, it didn't seem appealing to me.
Okay. Now, in the show notes, Derrick, you are going to send us the links to Mystical Melodies. Is that right? So we can do that.
You guys are on Spotify, right?
I think I have a picture and maybe a YouTube link that I could send you all.
What? Okay, that's more than what we usually get. So
I have my pen. I'm gonna write it down right now.
I love that. I love that.
Oh, that's so good. Well, Derrick, I may hop over a lily pad or two, and if there's something you want to fill us in here, please definitely do. But 2013, you took a leap of faith and you started your own company, the OMOS team. And so, can you tell team building? And can you tell us about what that is and what caused you to make that decision to take that leap of faith?
Yeah. So, OMOS, one mind, one spirit. I think when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, I would see bits and pieces of people who were doing it, but they weren't doing it the way that I thought I would enjoy doing it. And so I was trying to figure out, how do I get people? I see people working together and they have the nuts and bolts, like they have the mind of it, but they don't have the spirit. And I see some people who they want to work together and they have the spirit of the thing, but they don't necessarily have the details. And I was trying to figure out, how do I get people to have the mind and the spirit? And so that's where the one mind, one spirit came from. But I remember I was working for a natural gas company here in Oklahoma City. And I was their recreation coordinator, which means I was responsible for coordinating all the activities that their employees did, whether it's basketball, softball, floor hockey, swimming, whatever it was. And somewhere along the way, our group started doing professional development together. And so we had a training department under HR within the company. And so we would go and we would have these trainings, and the people would turn around and they would read the PowerPoint and they would come back to us. And we do that for an hour. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot sit here another hour and watch this presenter read to me or flip a page to a book. And so I go to the person that was overtraining, and I was like, we have to do something differently. I have a degree in recreation management, which means I just study games and activities and figure out how to use them to get people to connect. And so what if I was able to partner with you and do some things? And so while I was at this company for a whole year, I was trying to figure out how to use games and activities and then these leadership opportunities to get people to connect and get from where they are individually to where they want to be as a group. And that's how my company was created. I use interactive games, activities, tabletop, sort of this experimental, adventure-based type of learning. And we get people in tight spaces and we talk about some really difficult things, and we have lots of fun while we do it. But the whole point is to get people on the same mind, in the same spirit, working together.
That is so cool. And I just love that. I mean, the name itself, the messaging itself is like so clear to get people on that same page. And I just love this, even just you're talking about it in the last question, it coming up now, like just this non-traditional path. And was that easy for you to kind of lean into? So like, did you get a lot of kind of kickback on it, or was it welcome? Was it refreshing?
Yeah. So what I've learned about adults is they have forgotten how to play, right?
Yeah.
They've forgotten how to be kids, how to be simple, and they make everything so smart and so intellectual, and they have to look cool while they do it. And that is it's very unfortunate, because I think most adults look back on a time in their life where all they had to do was play, right? Whereas this low responsibility, no bills, this very simple lifestyle. And so I try to get people back to that space, but you have to have buy-in from the group to sit down and play and talk. And so the resistance, the difficult part is often getting people into the space. When you get them into the space and you get them to buy into what's happening, everything usually opens up from there. Is it needed? Yes. Getting people to realize that it's needed is important, right? Everyone will say, yes, we need to come together. Yes, we need to be on the same page. Yes, we need to do the things. But how we do it is usually where the opposition comes in. Some people say we're adults and it'll work out on its own. We'll figure it out. Other people say we need to focus and kumbaya. And then you got the people who don't want to kumbaya. It's like, it's just this whole dynamic imbalance of trying to find something that everybody can buy into that will work. So to answer your question, yes, it was difficult. But the easy part was because my passion fueled it, right? There's this saying that if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. That is absolutely true when it comes to pursuing your passions. And not to say pursuing those things is not hard work, but it's hard work that you enjoy because it's something that you want to do. So it was met with resistance. It was difficult. Anytime you're leaving the stability of someone bringing you work and giving you money to jumping out on your own and trying to generate your own revenue and income, there's some difficulty there. But I think it's a wonderful experience when you can do something that you love and pursue it with all your heart and find some reward in internal and external validation from pursuing that thing.
Yeah. No, I love that because I feel like to me, it is part you kind of leaning into who you are, right? But it's not always going to be easy. And I think there's a really clear distinction with that when we are pursuing our dreams. Like there should be some sense of like, hey, this is natural. This feels like this is what I should be doing, but it's most likely going to be met with some resistance. And so thank you for talking that out because I think it gives just a clear vision of like what happens when we pursue things and maybe it's not quite the traditional route. I think that's so cool.
Carolyn,
so,
I gotta. Oh,
go ahead.
Derrick, you just uncovered something massive here. I feel like we could park and then we're going to schedule a part 2 interview with Derrick. So, but what's interesting, I agree 100%. I love how you use the word just play. But it's interesting, like when we're young and innocent and, we're the big dreamer, we just get out there and we do stuff and something happens or there's resistance. That resistance, it's almost as if it doesn't like phase us, right? We prototype it, we do it, and then we try something else and we do something else. So have you been able to pinpoint though, like then what happens, I guess, along the way to get us into this?
Yeah, I think it goes from when we are in a play phase, you got to think like how much we learn when we play as children, right? We learn what tastes bad, right? Mud pies are for playing only, not for eating, right? We learn that we learn that out. We hurt ourselves when we fall from trees or scrape our knees jumping fences. We learn that turtles bite. We learn that surfaces are slippery. We learn all these things when we play. But what happens when we get out of this discovery phase of playing is that we take information that other people have discovered as law, our Bible, and then our thinking and our discovery becomes firm and rigid. Right? When we're young, the world is open and it's our oyster and everything is possible. I can be a superhero. I can fly. I'm invisible, right? Nothing, you know what I'm saying? I have muscles under my shirt. I can lift couches. I can, you know what I'm saying? Like I can hold my breath underwater. The floor is lava. Like, it's like we learn all these wonderful things when we're kids. But what happens is we just become, our pliability goes away. And survival and having to know versus discovering becomes the focus. And I think when we start to fit into that box and we have to start walking on that line and coloring inside, I think the discovery part of who we can be begins to get smaller, and trying to figure out who we have to be becomes the focus. And you find out like some of our greatest inventors, our greatest motivators are the people who remind us of what we want it to be and not what we currently are. Right? When we think of DC and Marvel, and when we think of like Einstein and Malala, that is, one of the youngest female, she might be the youngest female Nobel Peace Prize recipient, right? When we think of her idea of reading and liberation and women, and it's like those are the people that we look up to. Yet somehow we end up doing things because we have to, not because we want it to. So I think somewhere along the lines we just lose this concept of discovery, of exploration, of curiosity, and we start thinking survival and what we have to do versus what we want to do.
Yeah. Wow, that's so good. Derrick, we know you have a book and it's called My Life of Lists. Can you tell us about the journey that inspired you to write it?
Yeah, so keep in mind, like I didn't want to be an author. I feel like I was pushed into authorship. And so on social media, I would just kind of create this list. And the list came from me dropping my children off at school, and they would get back in the car and I'd be like, hey, how's the day? And they were like, fine. And I'd be like, was it fun? They'd be like, yeah. And I'm like, what did you eat? And they'd be like, lunch. It's like this short response. And so I said, all right, this is what I want you to do. From now on, when you get in the car, I want you to tell me something fun that you did, something that you learned, and a random tidbit of information. And so for a while, it would be difficult because they had switched their brains into identifying these prompts, right? But after a while, they would get in the car and they would eagerly share, right? Before I even asked the question, what was something that you learned? What was something fun that you did? And an extra tidbit of information, they started volunteering the information. So I matched it because they were like, Dad, what about you? And I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting to also answer the question, right? And so that prompted me to start observing a bit more the world around me on purpose. And so I would share these observations on social media, and people would interact and engage with them like crazy. Like I would sit at the stoplight, and I still do this today. I would tell people, like, while you're at the stoplight, just look around and see what's happening. And you look over, and the person next to you is digging in their nose, and then you look to the other side, and there's a lady that is putting on her eyeliner and trying to eat a breakfast burrito while fixing her hair, and she's on the phone. And then you look across the way and you see two cars racing, and you see a person that's trying to walk across the street with all these bags. I mean, when you just open up and you start to look around you, you see so much more than the destination at which you're trying to arrive. And so I'm sharing all these cool things on social media. People are like, man, you should collect these and make a book. And I was like, really? They were like, yeah. And so the format of the book is simply I created 30 lists, and I pull one concept from the list. I expound on what I saw, what it meant, and then what I learned from that particular thing. And it's as easy as one of the chapters in the book is called Put on Socks. Put on Socks. And I went to a workout class, and at the end of the workout class, I couldn't even take my socks off. I couldn't even take them off. I was like, my body was so hurt that I couldn't even take them off, right? And if I couldn't take them off, that means I couldn't put the new ones on. And so I remember sitting there looking at my socks on the floor thinking like, man, I need to put those on, but I just can't, right? And so with the lesson that I learned from that is like, if there's something that I can do now to prevent something later from happening, right, then I need to do it now. What's something that I can do now that's going to impact tomorrow, right? For me, it was the exercise, it was the food consumption, it was the rest, it was taking care of my body that if I had done weeks ago, months ago, then in this moment, I would have been able to put my socks on. But because I didn't pursue the dream, I didn't have the hard conversation, because I didn't say I was sorry, because I didn't save the money, because I didn't do the things, now I can't do what I want to do. And so it's a book with each chapter kind of taking that approach to what's a list of life that I can kind of create that allows me to observe and be more intentional in the moment. And how can I let those moments impact my future?
Wow, that's so intentional. I love that, and so practical as well.
Thank you.
So would you mind sharing with us maybe some things that were on like your Sunday list?
Sunday list. Yes, the Sunday list is this past Sunday list? Or just okay. I didn't make one. Let's see if I can think about this past Sunday list. I got to hang out. Also, my wife and I are doing dance classes, and so I got to do dance class. Got to watch the Super Bowl. Here's a good one. I met my friends. I was watching the Super Bowl, and at one point in time, a commercial comes on, and then at the same time, everyone's heads drop to their phones. It was like clockwork. It was like cue commercial. Everyone's heads went down on their phone, and then when the game came back on, everybody's heads pop up, right? So if I was to write a book about that moment, I would say, how many moments have we missed, opportunities we've missed to connect because we've put our heads in our laps and in our phones instead of looking at each other, right? So that would be something. That would be an example of a Sunday list, or a list that I created based on this past weekend.
That is absolutely brilliant. Derrick, thanks for taking it right on the spot with us here. With that Sunday list. I love it. So, Derrick, we know you're excited about a lot of things. And in particular, I think you're excited about the shirt that you're wearing and what it says on it. It says paradigm shift. There we go.
Yes,
So
sir.
Dreamers and Doers, all right, here's another thing that Derrick is involved in, but this is current, this is hot and fresh. So tell us about Paradigm Shift and what gets you the most excited about it.
Definitely. So in 2013, when I launched my company, Paradigm Shift, they helped me launch it. And they are interactive, socio-emotional learning, adventure-based, discovery-based learning. And that's exactly what I want to do. And so they helped launch my company in 2013. 2017 comes back around and they're like, hey, we love what you do. If there's any possibility for you coming to partner with us, we'd love to do that. So I kind of dabbled a little bit. 2018, working with this company, had an opportunity to go to 20 states, three countries over in Europe. I traveled close to 10,000 miles. It was absolutely amazing what I was able to do with this company. Fast forward 2019, 2020, 2021, I come on full time. And for the last year, we have been trying to figure out how do we recruit, train, equip, and empower minority students to pursue their hopes, their goals, their dreams, getting from where they are to where they want to be, using leadership as the avenue. And so that's what Paradigm Shift does. We come in, high energy games, interactive activities, and throughout, we just kind of tie this theme of leadership, of preparation, of goal setting, time management, financial literacy, connection before content. How do we put people over problems? Just kind of this general leadership, but very specific in the way that we address it.
Derrick, I love this. I love this common thread that we see from, I think, the picture you painted for us at age 9 to today, and even just seeing with the OMOS and the team building and how it seems that that's tying into what you're doing, of course, and how your involvement with Paradigm Shift and what you're bringing to that organization and impacting people is just so powerful. Derrick, a question that we love to ask our guests is about personal growth, and you heard us talk about it on the beginning, on the front end. Of course, you mentioned we talked about your book and listing, but if we had an opportunity to follow you around for a day or for a week, what would be some things that we would notice just about your habits and about your disciplines and things you do?
Habits, discipline. I would definitely say connecting with people is something that I value. I try to be intentional about connecting with people. And one of the things that I've learned about people is that if you connect with people who are genuine and that you trust and that they love you and you love them, that they are for you. One of the things that I've learned about people that are for you is that anything that comes through the I'm for you filter, no matter how hard it is to hear, no matter how it feels, at the end of the day, it's all love. Right. And so when I have a coach that's telling me I'm being lazy because he's for me, it's all love. Right. When my wife tells me that I didn't take the trash out or that I was not attentive, right, it comes through love. When I have friends that are giving me feedback that maybe sometimes it's hard to hear, when it comes through the I'm for you filter and it's all love, that's what makes connections so important. We have people that can support you, that can validate you, that can encourage you, as well as tell you when you're missing the mark. And allows you to get back in place and position. That's one thing that I do that I think is pretty consistent throughout my week. Another thing that I try to do is I try to learn something, and that can be reading an article, listening to a podcast. It can be discovering random tidbits of information. Another thing that I also try to do is I try to share things that I learn and that I discover. I'm also a mentor to about 5 or 6 different folks. At Paradigm Shift, we also have an internship program that we're allowed to connect with high school, middle school, and college students as well. And so sharing as well. So sharing, connecting, learning, I think those are all things, as well as some very practical things like exercise and waking up early and reading, and brushing your teeth and make sure you rest and taking showers and, taking moments to breathe. I went to a park last week, and it's one of the parks here in Oklahoma City, and I had some time before an appointment. So I just sat there in the sun, walking, sitting on rocks, kind of breathing in. So taking some time as well is very important. So I think there's some very practical things as well as some things that are unique to me that are disciplines that I like to practice or hope to practice daily and weekly.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Derrick, I know you're speaking a lot here about love.
Yes.
Can you tell us
Yes.
what do you love about what you get to do?
Whew. Yeah, I think connection is a big part of that. But connection in itself has to lead to somewhere, right? And so um, I think the connections that I make allow me access to maybe help facilitate some change or create some influence. And so there's nothing better than seeing a light bulb come on above someone's head, right? When things connect, when you can say a thing or repaint a thing. I don't know if you've ever saw a movie or heard a quote or heard a song lyric that accurately captured what you've been trying to convey or articulate, and it's like that right there, that. I love it when I'm able to do that for the kids that I interact with, when I can say a thing or provide an example or share a story. And so anytime a light bulb moment can come on, I think that kind of reinforces the purpose. It fuels and double downs the passion. And so anytime I can help that happen, I think that's great. Also being available kind of fills my bucket as well. Allowing allowing myself space to be creative, and so whether it's like playing my ukulele or being able to crochet or golf, those things fill my love bucket as well. So yeah, that all ties into what I do and why I love doing it. I feel like I'm rambling here, like I'm just like giving out all this stuff.
It's
But I
all
think
love. It's all the love.
yeah, it's all intertwined. It's all connected. It all gives me joy. So yeah.
So Derrick, you mentioned on the onset that you feel like you're a more natural doer. We know you're definitely a dreamer as well. You've shared a lot with us today, but is there anything else that's on your mind, an idea, a project, or a dream that you've been thinking about?
Yeah. So when I was thinking about this, I really wanted to share with our young dreamers that I wish I would have had other people my age that I could dream with. I received lots of encouragement from coaches and parents and family members and teachers, but they were all adults. They were all adults. And I just wish I would have known of other people my age that were dreamers. And so I started thinking today of other young dreamers, right? I think of Malala, who had this big dream and was trying to figure out how to do it because no one around her was dreaming like she was, right? And so she reached up into her dream, pulled it down, and she made it happen, right? Won the Nobel Peace Prize, wrote a book, empowered young women to be educated and have a voice. I think about a young Martin Luther King who was able to finish high school early, right? Went into college at the age of 16, got his master's by the time he was a young man, got married, went on to get his PhD, changed the world by the time he was in his 30s, right? I think about the group of kids that created the soccer ball that could generate electricity like when you kicked it. And so it goes into their villages at night, provides light, and they can charge their devices. I think about the young, the 12-year-old young girl that was a surfer, and she had these flip-flops, and in between waves she would draw on her flip-flops with Sharpies. And then people will come up to her and be like, hey, where'd you get those from? And she was like, oh, I make these, right? A year later, she's a millionaire at the age of 12 because she just was around other people that were doing things that she were doing. I think about this group of young people that I took to Boston with the Art Science Prize. They were looking at things around them and people around them, and they saw that one guy had passed away from cutting his yard, and they were like, what if we could create a prototype of lawnmowers that popped up out of the ground like sprinklers, came out, cut the grass, and then went back down? How cool is that? They got to take that to Boston. There's another group of kids who's one of their grandmother was an interior designer, but the older she got, she couldn't move things around. And so they wanted to create a prototype where you could polarize magnets on the floor and furniture, and you could move furniture around with an app, right? And so you have these young people that are getting together with other dreamers that are creating these wonderful things. And I think when you get in a place where there's not necessarily adults, but other people, I think that is something that I absolutely love. And so what's something that's on my table right now? I want to put young dreamers around other young dreamers. I want to create a place where dreaming is normal. I want to be the Willy Wonka of my community, right? Where kids can come in and eating furniture is normal, right? Like it's chocolate leaves and trees. Like I want to be somebody that is able not only to empower and encourage dreaming, but I want to be able to use my influence and my resources to make it happen. So you asked me, what's a dream that I'm holding on to?
Yeah.
That is something that I want to bring out of. I want to reach up out of my dreams into the cosmos, into the ethos. I want to bring that down and make that happen in my community.
Wow. No, I love that. And I think speaking on behalf of Loveworks, we'll team up with you on that too.
I was hoping so. I wasn't gonna throw that out there, but I'm knocking on wood.
Yes. Derrick, I get to ask this question on behalf of our middle school students. And this is kind of one of those like time traveling type questions is, if you could go back in time and talk to maybe your middle school self, your high school self, what's a piece of advice that you would want to share?
Yeah. You're normal. You're normal. You're absolutely normal. The things that you see, the way you see life, you're absolutely normal. I know, Derrick, I'm talking to you right now, young Derrick. If you're watching this, if something happens and you're watching, it's like a time capsule. I'm taking this time capsule and throwing it back. Derrick, you are absolutely normal. The movies that you like, the music that you listen to, the crazy art things that you create, right? The world that you live in is absolutely normal. Don't conform. Don't dream smaller. Don't shrink. Don't set those things to the side. Because if you can grab a hold to that and make it your new normal, the things that you will do, my friend, trust me, you're doing great things right now. I can speak to you from the future. You're doing great things right now. But if you can grab a hold to that, where you are now, man, the future is bright. It's going to be even brighter. It's going to be cosmic if you can settle into who you are and make that your normal.
I love that. Thank you, Derrick.
Yeah.
Come on, Derrick. Dreamers and doers, receive that word, normal. Put it in your phone, put it in your tablet, on your mirror, in your bathroom. You are normal. Embrace that, receive it, and live it and be confident in that. Derrick, I feel like you gave us our dreamer and doer minute, but now it's time for the last word, the last 60 seconds, and that's what we call it, dreamer and doer minute, where we just want to give you another 60 seconds to share whatever just happens to be left on your heart to be able to speak into the hearts and the minds of our dreamers and doers. So are you ready?
Let's go.
Set and go.
One of the things that I love to do when I work with youth is I love to start big and I love to come out small. One of the activities that we do when we start big and we come back small is I talk about a sandwich. What's the ideal sandwich, right? And people, they come up with these grand ideas of like heated versus toast, white bread, a sub sandwich, croissant, the type of meats, the pickles, the veggies, the mayo. They do all these great things. And when they make this big sandwich, I ask them, well, what's the first step that you're going to do to make the sandwich? And so many people start in different places. They say, I'm gonna go to the store, or I'm gonna go to the pantry, or I'm gonna go to the fridge. There's no wrong way to start making a sandwich. The most important thing you have to do is start. We have these big dreams of wanting to buy mama a house and wanting to swipe a card without it being declined and not have to worry about turning the electricity on or off or putting gas in the car. And ultimately, when we say we don't want to have to worry about those things, is we want to do something where we can make money and have fun doing it. I'm telling you, those things are possible, but you have to start with today. How do we get to tomorrow? Today. How do we get to next week? Today. How do we get to next month? Today. How do we get to happiness, joy, fulfillment, success? We start with today. You can't get to tomorrow until you start today. My advice to you, start today.
Boom. That was awesome, Derrick. Derrick, that's the new Derrick Sier's like subspecial. It's just getting started. No, that was it's such a huge encouragement and such a testament even to who you are, right? You're a doer. And so you don't need that much. You don't need a ton. You just need this much.
I just need a little. That's all I need. Just crack the door. That's it. I'm gonna wiggle my way in there. Just give me a little crack.
No, it's so perfect. Such a great idea of what a doer is. You don't need to have you just need a little bit of vision, but you have to start. And that's so good. Thank you, Derrick, for sharing your story today and just the work that you've done with your mentorship. I know that's something that you take incredibly seriously, from mentoring younger people to even the mentorship that you receive. And so just the work that you're doing in our city, transforming it, and you're transforming lives. And funny enough, it's happening like one sandwich at a time. So
I love it.
I love it. Oh, Derrick, it's been a thrill and honor for us. Thank you for allowing us to be able to just pull just on you today. This has been so special. I mean, the difference is made just one student, one person at a time. You are certainly doing that. Thank you for opening up your vest and just sharing a dream that's on your heart with us. You definitely have made us better. Derrick, also too, I know our dreamers and doers are going to want to figure out, hey, how can I learn more about Derrick? How can I find him? We'll of course include this in the show notes, but anything that you can share and where we can find you?
Definitely. Instagram, Sier55. You can also type in Derrick Sier on all social media platforms and you'll find me. And then go to ps.company. It's paradigmshift.company, ps.company, to find out more about what we do and how we do it, and maybe even bring us to your location.
And get working on those lists. Derrick, thanks so much, man. You made us better today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Derrick.
We'll see you. Bye-bye. Carolyn, I began getting, I was listing a little, I had to stop, I had to stop myself and pause. I'll get on my list in just a couple minutes.
Yeah. No, I totally understand what you mean. Well, listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, you may want to go back into the archives a little bit and check out this episode. It's number 73. It's called Love Works with Lieutenant Wayland Cubitt. I heard that Cubitt and Derrick go back. So there's some mentorship there for sure. So check out that episode.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to learn more about LoveWorks, I think you know how to find us, but in case you're curious, at loveworksleadership.org is the place for all things leadership. And we also have a feature on there too, Dreamers and Doers, that you can check out. If there is a question that you have just on your mind right now and something you're working through in your personal leadership journey, you can ask us a question or our future Dreamer and Doer guest, and we'll do our very best to get you the best life-giving answer that we possibly can. And remember, Dreamers and Doers, and everyone that's listening and watching, that real leaders, they don't blend in, but they stand out.
Dream big.
And do your dream. See you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.